Good morning, lovely people of Cameroon Wahala. Major General M.G Tchemo has been admitted to the second session of the army. What that means will be subject to our conversation. But before, I want to take you back to the outing of Captain Effoudou, who highlighted on three aspects: the Sonara saga, the Northwest and Southwest problem, and the army. And you understand that because he spoke about the army, we are going to relate what some people term resistance of General Hector to the presidential decree and what the Mindef call as admission to the second section. I'm sure you want a media source that can clarify those information for you. Welcome. A former intelligence officer from the presidency military staff sit down for an interview. He talks about a rigged system of border control, a refinery, fire he calls deliberate, and a peace process he says was sabotaged from inside the wall of power itself. These are serious claims. Some of them, if true, will be scandalous. Others cannot be checked from where we sit. Our job tonight is to sort one from the other. I am Cyril Deme. Welcome to Cameroon Wahala, where unfiltered African political information is dished to you without compromise. Before we go further, a word on method. What you are about to hear is not from a single interview. It is from different verified sources, but the main is that of Captain Effoudou, presented as a former intelligence official close to the presidency. We are reporting what he said, not certifying that every claim he made was true. Some elements are checkable. Others rest entirely on his word. Well, we will tell you which is which as we go. Tonight, the allegation against Secretary General Ferdinand Gongo, the Anglophone crisis, and the Sonara refinery fire will be subject to our conversation. The method we use includes observing, then giving an orientation before drawing a conclusion. Let's observe what was actually said. Captain Effoudou claims that in the 2025 presidential elections, President Paul Biya lost the vote inside military barracks, an unprecedented result in his telling, which he read as a sign of deep discontent within the rank. This is a specific, checkable in principle claim. We have not been able to independently confirm barracks level vote breakdown, which are not normally published, so we present it as his assertion. He also claimed that separatist leaders currently imprisoned in Yaoundé, including one he named as a religious figure and former head of an interim government, took part in informal church-mediated talks with the states, reportedly at a parish near the Yaoundé Basilica, with the Catholic Church facilitating. He says these talks were later sabotaged by the Secretary General of the presidency on the economy of the crisis in the Northwest and the Southwest. He argues that the conflict has become profitable for certain actors, meaning some people have a financial interest in continuing. On Sonara, the national refinery, he alleges that its insurance renewal was deliberately blocked before the 2019 fire, which he called criminal rather than accidental, and that the refinery continue to closure since then benefits a private network he links to the Secretary General through an intermediary. He also alleges that airport and seaport security at some entry point is run by private companies tied to the Secretary General associates rather than by state services. Let's now orient ourselves. What can we actually stand behind? None of these are things Cameroon Wahala can verify independently tonight. What we can tell you is that these allegations exist, that they were made on the records by someone presenting himself as a former insider, and that they touch on matters unexplained refinery fire, a stale peace process, control over ports and airports, that Cameroonians have been asking questions about for years, largely without official answers. That gap between public curiosity and the public information is exactly why an interview like this spreads. It doesn't make every claim in it true. It does make the underlying question legitimate. Now, a note on what we will not repeat. The same interview includes a call for a named official to be executed publicly. We are not going to repeat or dwell on that here. However serious the accusation against someone are, calling for their death is not something this channel will amplify. And we will say the same regardless of who the target was. Let's now decide what to do next. We treat these as allegations requiring further reporting, not as a verdict. We will continue to look for independent confirmation, official responses, or documentation, and we will bring you what we find. What we owe you. I want to speak to those of you who have been watching this channel for some days now, some for months. Many of you are between 45, 50, and 60 years old, who have lived through more than so many leadership styles and more than one round of promises. You need us to shout. You don't need us to shout to get your attention. You need us to be careful with what we tell you, especially on a story this heavy. Every script on this channel means hours spent listening back to the source material, checking what can be checked, and being honest about what can't. Tonight's story is a good example. Serious allegation, a single source, real stakes. We could have just repeated it as facts to get a reaction. We choose instead to tell you exactly where the evidence stops and the claims begins. That is the only way we know to earn a trust that too many institutions and too many media outlets have already spent carelessly. Why share and subscribe? If this kind of careful reporting is useful to you, there is one simple thing that matters more than people realize. Sharing this video. Not for algorithm, for a relative or an old classmate, a colleague who deserves a version of this story that separates the checkable from the unverified. Instead of a voice note forward 5 times on WhatsApp with nothing attached to it but outrage, subscribe and turn on the notification. That single click is part of what let a channel like us keep operating next to outlets with far bigger budgets, who don't always slow down to make these distinctions. And if you are able to, our membership isn't a favor you are doing to us. It funds the actual work, cross-checking claims like the ones tonight, following up with sources, staying independent of anyone who will rather we simply repeat what we are told, every member, even at the smallest height, buy us more room to do that properly. What you are supporting isn't a channel. It is your own access to clean information that isn't just handed to you pre-packaged by whoever benefits from the story. Some of you will watch a story like this and think, what's the point? Nothing changes. I understand that reaction, especially on a story involving a refinery fire nobody's ever explained fully. But consider this. Allegations that used to stay confined to closed circles in Yaoundé are now being debated in public, including by people abroad who, a decade ago, would never have had access to this level of details about how their country is actually run. Careful, widely shared information puts pressure on institutions to answer questions they will rather leave unanswered. It doesn't happen in one video. It happened because people keep watching, keep sharing, and keep asking the same uncomfortable question until silence becomes harder to maintain than a response. Your share, your considered comment, your subscription, none of it is wasted. It is part of a slow shift in what those in power can get always with leaving unexplained. We will keep following this story. The allegation against the Secretary General, the Sonara fire, the state of the peace process, with the same standards, tell you clearly what is confined, what is confirmed, what is alleged, and what we still don't know. Thank you for your trust. Thank you for your loyalty. And thank you sincerely for every share. It's been Siri the Mayor for Cameroon Wahala. See you very soon again.